At first, discipline saved me. Tracking every carb, pre-bolusing every meal, training to the minute, but no one warned me that discipline can turn into a prison. See, I didn't snap, but I slipped. Until one day, my identity was buried under perfectionism and fear. And today, I'm going to share the mistake that nearly wrecked my health as a type 1 diabetic. I want to talk about the dark side of discipline that no one talks about. In fact, it's often celebrated. And also how I finally found freedom without losing control. Because if you're chasing discipline without balance, you're not moving toward mastery. You're building your own cage. Now, I've worked with thousands of type 1 diabetics, athletes, high performers, CEOs, but also stay-at-home moms, grandparents, and kids. And I see the same trend. Effort does not always equal progress. And yes, grit will get you somewhere, but it won't get you to the finish line. And that's why so many of us burn out, right? And today, I'm going to walk you through my 3 burnout stories, my personal. I have burnt out multiple times, but I want to walk you through these special 3. 1 is my prison of self-experiments. 2, my Ironman collapse. And 3, even my CGM, the day that it nearly broke me. And I'll show you the framework anyone can use to protect against burnout or recover if you're already there. Now, by the end, you'll also know how to move through the 5 stages of T1D Mastery, and more importantly, how to actually live in stage 5. Get to a place where you feel free, right? And if you're new here, my name's Matt Van de Vecht. I live with type 1 diabetes, and I wrote a #1 bestseller book on the topic of blood sugar formulas. I'm also a certified master fitness trainer and nutritionist, and today, I want to share with you the unspoken side of diabetes. Now, many years ago, before I coached any type 1s, right before all of this, I dedicated over 2 years of my life to self-experimentation to figure out if there even was a way to control this beast of a disease. Now, every hour of every day was an experiment. Different carb ratios, different exercise timings, hundreds of data points, testing out different meal types, sleeping schedules, you name it. And out of all of that is what I now call the 80-20 blood sugar formula, right? It's a system that helps you to stabilize blood sugars nearly on autopilot so that you can go live your best life. But here's the truth I never admitted back then when I was going through it. I built a prison around myself trying to figure it all out because the rules felt safe. And the more I leaned on safety, the stronger the walls became. Think about it. If you're scared of eating pasta, you stop eating pasta, then eating pasta becomes scarier, right? When you lean into fear, it strengthens. The prison you build around yourself, the walls get thicker, right? Until I realized the restriction wasn't freeing me. It was chaining me down. That's burnout. When the system that once gave you life starts to steal it. And unfortunately, it's the same advice most diabetics are given. Pick a diet or lifestyle or routine and stick to it. Diabetes loves consistency. Yes, that's true, but you don't. Oftentimes, right? Maybe you do. Maybe you're the different person out there that thrives when you get to live the same day forever in Groundhog Day. Maybe you love that, but in the off chance that you like the occasional dose of spontaneity or saying yes to something fun that wasn't part of the plan, this one's for you. Right now, fast forward to last week. My CGM started throwing errors left and right. It was obnoxious. Numbers were bouncing up and down like a roller coaster, but my glucometer, because I didn't trust it, my glucometer said I was steady. It was at 106 constantly, and it was showing 130 double arrows up, 70 double arrows down. And I was like, there's no way. I hope, right? And instead of calmly checking, I did panic a little bit, almost automatically. Like every spike felt like failure. And I'd reach for insulin, like, maybe I get it correct. Maybe I messed up my carb count, right? Every dip felt like danger, and I'd mentally map out the fastest route to glucose. I ended up ripping off my Dexcom sensor. I was sick of it. It was throwing me into this reaction mode, and I wasn't having it. And for the first time in days, I felt like I could breathe. Not because finger sticks are easier. I did not enjoy that part. I've lost the calluses on my fingers, right? But because I stopped reacting emotionally to false signals. And that moment taught me burnout isn't just physical, it's emotional. It's when you let the numbers dictate your worth and assign this made-up meaning to them, right? Think about that. I got nervous when I saw a number on my Dexcom, and then I realized the number was wrong and I stopped being nervous. I made myself nervous because of the meaning I assigned to the number on the screen. How interesting is that? I'll ask you this. Let me know in the comments if this has ever happened to you, because it has happened to me repeatedly. I'll get a low alert on my CGM that's incorrect, but I won't know that it's incorrect, and I will start to feel low once I see the number. I hear it, beep, 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 and I go, oh no, I'm low. Look at that, I'm shaky, I'm sweaty, my tongue feels kind of numb. What kind of symptoms do you have, by the way? I'm always curious about what other people's low symptoms feel like. For me, it's my tongue and my lips go numb, if it's a bad one. But I'll get those symptoms, and then I'll do a finger stick, and it'll say I'm 110. And then the symptoms magically go away. The meaning we assign to these numbers gives us this extra visceral response, and it sucks. So I'm curious if that's ever happened to you. Let me know what your symptoms are like, and if that has ever happened to you. I would love to know. But a few years ago, I became a best-selling author in the same month that I became an Ironman, which sounds cool, right? People saw the highlight reel, admittedly, because I posted it. But behind the scenes, I was unraveling. See, 2 weeks after that race, I broke down. For the first time in nearly 6 years, I fell below 90% time in range, the standard I had built my identity around. Right? It's like my bragging point, and it was shattered. That was my breaking point. See, burnout doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers until suddenly you can't hold it together anymore. Now, I did a little bit of research. I actually took a break from filming this video because I wanted to give you something tangible behind this. And there are statistics behind everything in this video. Now, living with type 1 diabetes isn't just about the numbers. We know this. It's about the weight it puts on your shoulders. And honestly, it weighed on me not giving you the statistics behind this chat. And while diabetes distress isn't the same thing as depression, it can feel just as heavy. And this is coming from somebody who has experienced both clinically as well. Now, there's a gentleman I actually met many years ago. His name's Dr. Bill Polonsky, and he actually created a tool called the Diabetes Distress Scale to measure this. Now, there's a short 7-question version and a longer 28 version. Both look at 4 big areas to assess diabetes distress. Number 1 is the emotional burden we carry. Number 2 is the burnout from all of our daily tasks, of which it's been said we take more than 180 decisions per day. 180. Just take a second to think about that. Now, number 3 is the strain diabetes puts on our relationships. I can attest to that as well. And number 4 are the frustrations that we experience navigating the healthcare system. Now, here's the reality. About half of people with type 1 score in the moderate to severe range of distress. Half of the people they've studied. And parents or caregivers of type 1s, they often score even higher than the person living with diabetes. I've heard this from many of our clients. Parents of type 1 kiddos say, oh, I'm not a warrior like you guys. And the answer is no, you're more of a warrior in many cases because of the extra stress and distress and oftentimes mental burden that comes along with that. So yes, you are a warrior just as much as we are. Now, this isn't just in your head. See, distress actually shows up in our health outcomes. But here's the good news. When it's recognized and addressed, things can get better. I'm living proof of this. Okay, outcomes improve. Quality of life improves. So in this episode, I wanted to unpack this topic with you. It's not talked about often enough, and oftentimes it's ignored because we look at the numbers and the metrics only. But taking into consideration the mental load that we carry with us day in and day out, we'll look at what diabetes distress really is, why it matters, and most importantly, what you can actually do about it, right? You're not the only one carrying this weight. I've walked through this myself, and I know how real it is and how hard it can get. And you see, there's these 3 different stories, right? My data-driven prison of effort and restriction. There's my CGM anxiety, the made-up emotional reaction that I had to these numbers that weren't even real. And my Ironman collapse, where I pushed and pushed and pushed. Grit will take me through, and it did, but it cost me. I nearly had a mental breakdown, like actually. See, these different situations have the same root problem: discipline without balance, effort without freedom. And here's what I've learned after developing a full framework for our private clients around the 5 stages of T1D Mastery is that discipline can only take you up to stage 3, maybe stage 4 of 5. But if you want true mastery, stage 5 of 5, you need something else, right? So if you think about it, if you just try harder, if you just pay more attention to your blood sugars, you will notice a lift in your time in range. Your A1C may even come down. It might look good on paper, but you will be exhausted, you will be frustrated, and you will be on the edge of burnout. Your doctor might give you a high five though. Is it worth it? Or do you need a sustainable system that you can rely on instead of just gritting down and pushing harder? It's tough because it works at first, and we think that's as good as it gets. Now let me show you the 5 stages that we came up with for our private clients. See, stage 1, you've got survival, right? Base of the stages, you realize effort matters. You do actually have to try to keep yourself alive, right? Stage 2 is stability. You build structure and routines. You learn that diabetes does in fact love consistency. The more consistent you are, the more consistent your blood sugars are. So you try and lock into a routine and restriction and rules, and it kind of starts to work. You develop into stage 3, which is predictability. You self-experiment, start to learn from your data. This is about where effort caps out though. You can't really get any farther than this because stage 4 is optimization. Things start clicking. Less effort, more ease. And that's the key shift. Less effort, more ease when you optimize with a system in place. And then stage 5, of course, is mastery. It's freedom. You're no longer trapped by perfection because it feels effortless. Like my 98% time in range on autopilot for over 90 days currently. I took this screenshot today so you could see what it looks like right now. This is no trying harder. I'm working on 99%. That's the effort that I'm putting in, is to go 1% higher. I'm like, yeah, it'd be cool, right? But I looked down and I was like, oh, it's 98% time in range. That's pretty cool. What have I been doing differently? I haven't. It's because I've built a system in place, and that's what we work with our clients on. We don't just tell them to try harder, right? There is a right way to level up once you get past the effort stages. And that's how you protect yourself against burnout, is you don't just try harder, right? Trying harder, expecting a different outcome. What is that? The level of insanity, right? Or the definition of insanity? Just keep trying the same thing, expecting different results. That's not how this diabetes thing works, right? Because diabetes operates on its own set of rules. You have to be able to analyze and interpret the data that you're given. Without that, you may never experience true control. And that's just the hard truth. I want to be honest with you about this because diabetes is pretty complicated. That's why it's so frustrating when you do the same thing multiple days in a row. You put the effort in and you don't get predictable outcomes because diabetes changes the rules day to day. I could rant on that for hours, but you might as well just read the book. I put half of them in there. But see, most people, they stop at stage 3. Some make it to stage 4, but stage 5, that requires balance and strategy, which after you finish this video, you'll be ready for the training that I put in the description for you. It's totally free, and it'll show you the path to mastery like my clients experience. So how do we protect ourselves from burnout or climb out of it if we're already there? Right? There are 2 sides to this. Side 1 is there's this emotional armor, right? You got to stop labeling your blood sugars as good or bad. They're just numbers. And I know it's hard. Trust me, I have a struggle with that as well, but they are just numbers, all right? 2 is use a burnout inventory. Ask, where am I emotionally drained? Where am I judging myself, right? 3, you retrain your reaction to tech errors. Data is information, not a verdict, right? It gives you context. That's it. And number 4, surround yourself with support, friends, community, therapy. I've used all 3. Now, side 2 of this is your tactical armor, using systems like the 80-20 blood sugar formula, but as scaffolding, not as a cage, right? It works, don't get me wrong, but it's not a replacement for you. It's a tool. It's like having a sports car. You still need to be the driver, right? It just sits on your driveway. It looks beautiful, but if you don't drive it, it can't do anything. So you have to be in the driver's seat. to use the formulas, right? Number two is to build in buffer days. You can't run at full speed forever. Sprints are great. They help you to make quick progress, but you need to build sustainability into this. Number three is looking at journal prompts. So morning intention, evening release, being intentional, getting things on paper or talking things through with a significant other, right? Number four, micro resets throughout the day. Take 30 seconds. Take a deep breath intentionally. Feel it. Think of something you're grateful for. Stare off into the distance. Touch grass. Whatever. But reset. Don't let stress snowball and pull you down, right? Number five is grace metrics. You got to be able to measure progress, not perfection, okay? Spoiler alert, none of us are perfect. Just like literally no one. So, and number six, redundancy. So your fail-safe protocol is to fall back on, like when the CGM fails, right? Or pump sites fail. I switched to my glucometer, took a breath, and hit that reset button, right? But let's make this real. So we are developing a full system for our highest level clients that delves into subconscious behavior patterns and more, think of it like automatic decisions that you're already making that might be making it harder for you, that you don't even know about, right? So, and I'll give you a couple examples of this. We'll think of the perfectionist, right? Obsessed with rules, stuck in stage 2. What about the grace metrics they might need, an emotional armor to protect against things like burnout? What about the data warrior, right? Someone who panics at every deviation. I did that. Needs reactivity training, right? And backup systems. Or the overachiever who achieves everything until they collapse. They go, go, go until there's nothing left. They need rhythm. They need rest. They need a daily reboot. And if all of those sound familiar, it's because I've been all three, right? And that's why I know the way out. But we've got something like, 15 others of those types of individuals that are now part of our new client onboarding and help to identify your current burnout risk factors and so much more. Super pumped about it. I can't wait to pull that with our new clients. But here's a system that I use today. So real quick, weekly reset. Once a week, do a burnout inventory. Where are you slipping? And you have to be honest with yourself, otherwise this does not work. In the mornings, set intention, right? Not perfect numbers, but steady effort. So you're putting the effort in. You may not get perfect results. It's okay. Let it go. Reassess, move on. Evening, release judgment. Write down one win. Every single coaching call that I start with my clients, I tell them, what are your wins? It's not because I want to hear how awesome the program is, even though I know it is awesome. I want to hear them look for things that are positive. And I know this because when I was a kid, I was diagnosed with depression, among a lot of other things that we can talk about in a different video, but I've struggled with mental health throughout my life. And one of the things that stood out to me from my childhood is that on the way home from school, my mom would always ask me, what was one good thing from today? Just one. Think about it. And she waited on me until I found at least one good thing, even if it was a silver lining to a bad thing. Find the positives. Write down that one win. Now, during the day, micro resets, like I was talking about. 10 seconds here, 30 seconds there, a 15-minute walk outside, deep breaths. Step back from the chaos of the day, right? And your data anxiety plan, if your CGM goes haywire, switch to a glucometer, right? And make sure you have a backup. I had to go find mine. It was in my backpack. I always have it with me, but for a second, I forgot where it was. But you got to remind yourself, it's information, not identity, right? Or as one of my clients used to tell me, bring the data, not the drama. Thought that was one of the best things I've ever heard, and I absolutely love it. Make sure you plan grace days, though. Plan days where control is looser, where freedom is built into the system. And this isn't about doing more, like you're adding more things to your routines, right? And I know that might sound like that. Make sure you have a morning thing and an evening thing and a weekly thing. Sounds like more, but this isn't about more. It's about protecting balance. So how do you make this last? Understand, life comes in seasons. Some are strict, some are loose, right? When I was doing all the stuff at once, best-selling author and an Ironman and blah, 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 90% time in range and all this stuff, that was a sprint, right? That was strict. That was hard. I'm in a season right now where things are a little bit looser by design. Because I recognized I was pushing myself a little bit too hard. You have to create your own guardrails to identify any signs that you're drifting, So for me, that's obsessing over every data point. I love data. This is where the program came from, is that I love analyzing blood sugars, looking at the data, interpreting CGM reports, and talking about formulas and calculations and basal rates and how do you calculate your glucose tolerance ratio. And if I go ride 20 miles on my bike, how many grams specifically do I need of glucose to make sure I stay between 90 and 110? That was my ride yesterday. I got 20 miles in and stayed non-diabetic numbers. I love data, but for me, balance looks like pulling back from the data just a little bit, right? Another tip for you, to build accountability. A mentor, a peer, someone to check in, and always return to balance. It's something I've learned time and time again. Balance is the key. And stage 5 I've been talking about isn't about control. Mastery is about achieving true freedom. Right? I used to think it was just about control. I'd maintain 100% time in range for days and weeks on end. I told you guys I've been in range 99% for the last 2 months straight. That's insane, right? But I used to think that was the end goal, and I got lost in the control. I used to believe my worth was in my discipline. Now, I know my worth is in who I am, not my numbers, right? And to be honest, I'm still working on that. I really am. It's pretty hardwired into my being to seek validation and love through progress and achievements. We're all a work in progress, all right? But discipline builds strength. Balance builds freedom. And if this hit home and you want the actual tools I use, the burnout inventory, my daily reboot journal, or the 80/20 blood sugar formula framework, drop the word freedom in the comments. I'll send it to you directly. And before you go, check out the free resource in the description. I think you'll find it helpful if you live with type 1 diabetes like me and have a love-hate relationship with insulin. Next week, I'll show you how to live in stage 5, even when life feels like chaos. You don't have to live in a prison. You were made for freedom, and keep up the fight.